Okay, so we're going to continue with solving quadratic equation, okay? And I said to you yesterday that when you solve quadratic equation, solving quadratic equation, we can do this in 3 different ways. If we are lucky enough to find two numbers that when you times them together equals something, and when you add them together is equal to something else, then we can solve the equation by factorization. Okay, so I said it again. If we are lucky enough, we can solve the equation by factoring the equation and then solving. Okay, so the first one was factorization. If we cannot find those two numbers, then we do something that we call completing the square. Completing square. But there is another option. Okay, the third option is to use the quadratic formula. And I believe that everybody is familiar with the quadratic formula. But anyway, we're going to do some question. Okay, I'm using a formula. Okay, and just today I gave you some example. Do you have the example there? The one that we started yesterday, yeah?
Is that the one that's right at the end?
Yes, yes.
I wrote it down.
All the examples.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to just look at that so you can copy them all down?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have these 6 different equations. Thank you. Okay, I said to you yesterday that if you have an equation given in factor form, then it's easy. Because all you have to do is split the factors and set them, each one of them equal to 0, and then that's it. Done. Okay, so I mean, this question you can say x plus 3 is equal to 0, or x minus 5 is equal to 0, and then from here you're going to have the two answers. Okay, so you're going to have x is equal to -3. And in here, you're going to have x equal to 5. All right? And we always expect to have two answers. That is what we really want all the time. Unfortunately, sometimes we have only one answer, or sometimes we don't have any answer at all. Okay, so if the equation is given like this, then it's your lucky day. Same for this one. Okay, so this is equally easy because it's the same form as question 2. So question 2. So we're going to have 2x minus 1 equals 0, or x minus 3 equals 0, and then we solve it. So from here we're going to have that x is equal to half, and from here we have that x is equal to 3. That's it. Okay, question 3 is a little bit different, but in this case it's equally easy. All right, so if you have these equations, so you're going to write it down again. First thing that we have to do is to divide by 2. Okay, so we're going to say x plus 3 squared is equal to 9 on 2. All right. And then we need to get rid of the square. And we know that if you are going to get rid of the square, then you have to do square root, right? Okay, so if you are going to get rid of this square, then you have to square root both sides. And when you square root this side, then the square will disappear because square root and the square, they cancel each other. Okay, so I mean that in this side, we're going to have x plus 3. But then on the other side is when I want you to be careful. Okay, so on the other side, we have to put, the plus or minus in there because we need to have 2 answers. Okay, so we're going to put plus or minus and then the square root of 9 on 2. And then, whenever possible, you need to simplify. Okay, whenever possible, you simplify. What I mean is this. We can find the square root of 9, which is 3. Okay, so we're going to say x plus 3 is equal to plus or minus square root of 9 is 3. Unfortunately, we cannot do the same to 2, so it's going to be over square root of 2. And then we're going to have that x is equal to minus 3 plus or minus 3 on root 2. And then at this point, well, if the question say nothing about expressing the answer in some particular way, you can put that in your calculator and find the answer correct to 1 decimal place or 2 decimal places, or you can just leave it like that. Okay, but if the question say express the answer in simplest form, then you need to simplify a bit more. What I mean is, can you see that in here we have a square root in the denominator? So if the question say express the answer in simplest form, you should rationalize the denominator for this one. Okay, so rationalizing the denominator is something that we've done before. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2. Because I'm going to show you all the steps this time. And then we're going to have negative 3 plus or minus. When you rationalize the denominator, then we're going to have, if you multiply right across, we're going to have 3 root 2. It's going to be 3 root 2. And then over 2. That's correct. And then you can say, well, solution 1 is going to be minus 3 plus 3 root 2 on 2. And solution 2 is going to be minus 3, take away 3 root 2 on 2. Okay, and then you can finish there. You finish there if the question say express the answer in third. But if the question say express the answer correct to 2 decimal places, then again you have to put that in your calculator and do what the question is asking you to do. All right? All right, so this question was a little bit different. Question 4 is about the same, except that we are not going to divide by any number because we don't have any number in front of the bracket. So I mean that made the whole thing a little bit easier. Okay, question 4. All right, question 4, we square both sides. And we know that when you square this side, well, again, the square will disappear, so we're going to have only x minus 8 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 13. And then you make x the subject. So therefore, we're going to have that x is equal to 8 plus or minus square root of 13. And again, I want you to pay attention to this plus or minus. Okay, plus or minus is there because, well, we have two answers. Can you see that time, for example, if somebody say x squared is equal to 9. You know that there are two answers. Two number square will give you 9. The first one is 3, because if you do 3 square, well, the answer is going to be 9. But if you do negative 3 square, can you see that the answer will be also equal to 9? Okay, that's why you always have two answers. Okay, because the square will generate those two answers. Okay, so I mean that the answer in here, you can stop here if the question say express the answer in third or find the exact solution, because sometimes they say find the exact solution, then you stop here. But again, if the question asks you to express the answer correct to 1 or 2 decimal places, then you do so, all right? Okay. All right, so far we know that when we have a situation like this, we can factorize, and then in this case it's already factored, so we don't need to do anything. In here, well, same thing, we have the factor. But if you have a situation like this, first thing that you have to do is to check whether you can find those two numbers that when you times them together equals 72, and when you plus them together equal to negative 17. If you can find those numbers, then that would be excellent. If not, then we're going to have to do the next method, which is completing the square or using the formula. Right, okay, so the original question is x squared minus 17x plus 72 equals 0. But we know that we can factor this as, what do you say? X minus 9 and x plus 8. Okay, so this is our lucky day because we can find those two numbers. Negative 8, all right. Negative 8. Okay, and then that will give you, again, how many answers? Two. Okay, so then you say, well, therefore, my first solution is x equal 9. And the second solution is going to be x equal to positive 8. That's it. All right. Question 6. Let's see. In question C, we have a non-monic. Okay, question 5 was a monic because the leading term is equal to 1. But in here, we have a number in front of the x squared. Can you see? Okay, so in that case, first of all, we're going to... Yes. Okay, the first thing that we have to do is make this expression looks like a quadratic equation. So that means that we're going to have to move positive 12 across. So it's going to be minus 12 equal to 0. And then we're going to have to check again. Okay, so you're going to have to find two numbers that when you times them together equal to negative 144, but when you plus them together it's equal to 7. Okay, see if you can find those numbers. If not, then we are in trouble. 16 and negative 9. All right. So 16 comma negative 9 are those numbers. Again, then from last year we know that, or this year, you do 12x squared plus 16x minus 9x minus 12 equal to 0. Finding the number is something that you're going to have to, practice. And if you don't want to spend time finding those numbers, then later you're going to be using the formula, and then you use the formula all the time. All right? But for now, you're going to have to practice until you find the number. All right. Okay, and then we're going to group them in pairs as we've done before. So the highest common factor between the first couple is going to be equal to 4x. Okay, so we're going to do 4x outside of 3x plus 4. And then from the second couple is going to be negative 3. And then in the inside we're going to have same thing, 3x plus 4 equal to 0. And then we're going to have 4x minus 3. And then 3x plus 4 equal 0. And this is good news again. Okay, good news because now we change this fraction into, his factor form. And then we can split the factors to find the answer. Okay, from here, we're going to have that x is equal to 3 over 4. And the other solution is going to be negative 4 on 3. So x is equal to negative 4 on 3. Okay, so we had two solutions again. And then we're happy. Okay. All right, so if you are lucky enough, you can factor the equation and then find the solution like this. Okay, but finding the number is not always possible. So that's why we're going to see how we can do it. Okay, now I'm going to show you how we do when we cannot find, those two numbers. And that is by completing the square. All right. Okay.
So those are all factorization?
Yeah, so this is all about factorization. Okay, so we solve this equation using factorization, expressing the equation in factors, and then go from there. All right, so now completing the square. Completing the square. When we say completing the square, I really want to have a perfect square. So you're going to have an expression, and then somehow you're going to have to manipulate part of the expression until you have something that looks like this. X plus whatever is square. Okay, that's what we really want to have. So you're going to be given some expression involved in an equation. And then I really want to have this. We're going to manipulate the expression until we have this, and then we're going to equate this to something else, and then we're going to go from there. All right? Okay, so example. Let's say that you have this equation. We're going to start with easy one. Let's say that you have x squared plus 10x minus 2 equal 0. Okay, let's say that you have that equation. And you can see that it doesn't matter how hard you try. It's no way that you're going to find two numbers that when you times them together equal negative 2, but when you plus them together equal 10. Can you see that? You're going to spend all day here, and you're not going to find those numbers. Okay, so how are we going to solve the problem? Like this. Okay, so now is when you need to pay attention. Okay, step number one. If you have a situation like this, you're going to move the constant to the right. So you're going to move this constant across. So I mean that the next line should be x squared plus 10x equal to 2. Okay, that's the first thing that you're going to do. Okay, now is when we are going to complete the square for this expression. Meaning that somehow I need to manipulate this until we get something like this. And this is the technique. Okay, so you need to remember the step. And you're going to be doing it in your head. All right? So that's why you need to pay attention. Okay, so we are going to divide whatever the number that you have in front of the x always by 2. Is always by 2. And that 2 is coming from, can you say that when you expand this, then the answer is going to be x squared plus 2xa plus a squared? Okay, that 2 is coming from that 2. Okay, so we are going to divide this number by 2. So what's the answer for 10 divided by 2? 5. Okay, and then the next line you're going to say this. X plus 5 squared equal 2. But we have a problem, because if you expand this, you're not going to have exactly that. Can you see that if you expand this, then you're going to have x squared plus 10x, but then plus 25? So that means that we have an extra 25 on this side. To compensate that, we're going to put that on the other side too. Okay, and then we keep the balance. All right? No, it's 25, because in here you're adding 25.
If you're adding on both sides.
Yeah. It's not like I put 25 here and move it to the other side. No, all what we're doing is just putting 25 on both sides. But from the moment that you do that, you complete the square. That's what we're saying. All right? And then we're going to solve. So we're going to have x plus 5 squared is equal to 27. So it's equal to 27. And then we have, the same type of question that we had before. So we're going to square root both sides. So I say x plus 5 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 27. And then we have that x is equal to negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 27. And then you can stop there. The reason why, because we cannot reduce a square root of 27 anymore. So it is irreducible. Yes? Question?
I might be completely wrong. Isn't it 3 root 3? Isn't that the same? Yeah.
This one?
27. So it's 9 times 3.
Yes. So we can simplify. We can take, you are right. Okay, so if you're going to make this look simpler, so 27 is the same as 9 times 3. So, and then you can take, I'm going to write it down. So it's 9 times 3. Okay, so this is 9 times 3, and then we can take this 9 out. So that means that the answer is going to be negative 5 plus or minus 3 root 3. Yeah, very good. Okay, and then that's it. We cannot simplify that anymore. Okay, so this is what we call completing the square. Okay, so this one was easy because it is a monic. And the other reason why this is easy one is because this number is divisible by 2. Can you see that if this number is divisible by 2, then in here you're going to have a whole number? But if that was 7, for example, then we have to do a little bit more. And then when you have a number in front of the x squared, then, yeah, again. But it's still doable. All right, let's say that you have this. Question 2. All right, let's say that you have now x squared minus, okay, so you're going to do this. Right. Okay, so we have x squared minus 8x. Can I change something? I'm going to put minus 3. Because if I put plus 3, it may not work. Right. Okay, so step number 1, we have to divide this negative 8 by 2. Okay, so what is the answer for negative 8 by 2? Negative 4. Okay, so I mean that underneath you're going to put x minus 4 square. Oh yeah, we forgot to move the 3, so you're going to move it in here. So that's what we should do all the time first, but yeah. Okay, so we have x minus 4 in bracket square is equal to 3. And again, if you expand this, that is not going to be equal to x squared minus 8x. So that is going to be equal to x squared minus 8x and then plus 16. Can you see that? Okay, so that's why we need to compensate that by putting 16 on the other side. And then that's it. And then we have that x minus 4 square is equal to 19, and therefore x minus 4 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 19. And then we have that x is equal to positive 4 plus or minus the square root of 19. And this is an irreducible square root. Okay, so we just leave it like that. Right? Okay, Rhiannon? Okay. All right. Question 3. Okay, this time I'm going to make this slightly harder, just a little bit, by doing this. So we have x squared. I said that you have plus 7x minus 4 equal 0. I said that you have that one. Right, here we go. Step number 1, we are going to move negative 4 across. So then we're going to have x squared plus 7x is equal to positive 4. Right? And then we are going to do what we did before. So we are going to divide 7 by 2, but we're going to leave it as that. We're not going to say 3.5. No. If you can simplify the fraction, then you do so, but in this case, well, it's going to be 7 on 2, and that's what we're going to write. Okay, so I mean that the next line should be x plus 7 over 2 bracket equal 4. But then we need to put, on the other side, we need to put the square of this number. Okay, that's what we have been doing all the time. So what is the square of 7 on 2?
49.
That's it. It's 49 over 4. Okay, because 7 squared is 49, 2 squared is 4. All right, and then I want you to simplify this fraction. Can you please put that in your calculator and tell me what the answer is in simplest form? Okay, can you please tell me the answer of this as a fraction? 65 over 4. Okay, that's what I want. 65 over 4. All right. Yeah, when you do this, use a fraction. Don't use a mixed numeral, and do not use decimal. Okay, because yeah, that made the whole thing complicated. Okay, and then, well, let's square root both sides. I will give you plus or minus square root of 65 over 4. And then again, if you can simplify this a little bit more, then you should do so. Okay, we cannot simplify the square root of 65, but we can simplify the square root of 4. Okay, so that means that this is the same as x plus 7 on 2 equal to plus or minus the square root of 65 on 2. All right? And then we move this over the other side. So we're going to have x is equal to negative 7 on 2 plus or minus square root of 65 on 2. But then finally, if you really want to impress your teacher, okay, so in here you have the same denominator. Can you see that? So we can put this in a more compact way. So you say x is going to be equal to negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 65, and then the whole thing divided by 2. Okay, so you can see that it is also possible to do the completing the square business when you have a number that is not divisible by 2. Still can do it. Even if this was a negative, it doesn't matter. Okay, you still can do it. All right, let's do the hard one. Okay, so we're going to see what happens when you have a non-monic. Okay, let's say that you have all right, let's say that you have this one. That is question 4. 2x squared minus 7x plus 5 equals 0. Let's say that we have this equation. I don't know whether you can factor this or not, but let's pretend for a moment that we cannot factor this. Okay, let's say that we cannot find two numbers that when you times together equal 10, and when you add them together equal that. All right, just pretend. Okay, pretend that we cannot. Yeah. Because I take this question randomly from the textbook, so I don't know. Okay, so if you have a situation like this, step number 1, you are going to divide everything by 2. Okay, are you going to create a monic? How you create that monic? We're going to divide everything by 2. So that means that the next line should be x squared minus 7 on 2x plus 5 on 2 equal to 0. Okay, all what I did is just to divide through by 2, right? And then we are going to move the constant to the other side. So we're going to have x squared minus 7 on 2x is equal to negative 5 on 2. Right? And then we are going to do exactly what we did before. So we are going to divide negative 7 on 2 by 2. Now, I'm going to tell you this. When you divide anything by 2, it's like multiplying by a half. Okay, so dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by a half. So if you multiply this fraction by a half, then you're going to have negative 7 on 4. Can you see that? Okay, so if you multiply that by half, which is the same as divided by 2, so if you multiply across, then you're going to have negative 7, and then 2 times 2 equals 4. Can you see that? All right, so it's that. Okay, so that means that the next line should be x minus 7 on 4 square equal to negative 5 on 2. But then we need to put the square of this number on this side. The square of this number is going to give you 49 on 16. Okay, so plus 49 on 16. Okay, and then we're going to simplify. So x minus 7 on 4 square. And then you're going to put this in your calculator and tell me what the answer for that is in fraction. What do you say? 9 over 16. Okay, and this time we have one of those equations that can be solved fully. Okay, we can get rid of the square root altogether. Okay, but let's continue on the other side. Okay, so if you square root both sides, then we're going to have x minus 7 on 4 is going to be equal to plus or minus the square root of this. Can you see that if I put the square root of this, then we can simplify the square root of 9, which is 3, and the square root of 16, which is 4? Is that okay if I put in here 3 over 4? Do you understand that? Okay, and then we're going to say that x is equal to then positive 7 plus or minus 3. Can you see that we're going to have the same denominator? So you're going to put just over 4. And then you can even simplify more. So we're going to say 7 plus 3 is equal to 10. And then 10 over 4, what is it? 5 over 2. 5 over 2. But then if you do take away, so it's going to be 7 minus 3, so it's going to be 4, and then divided by 4 is equal to 1. Okay, so that means that you're going to have these two solutions. Right? Can you see that even if you have an ugly looking one in which we have a number in front of the x squared and this is not divisible by 2, you still can do it? Okay, so have a go and do this one. No. No, this one. All right, go for it. Okay, so I want you to do this quickly by completing the square. Just follow the same, step.
How did we get, sorry, I know this is a really dumb question, but can you tell me how to get from the negative 5 1 to plus 49 of 16 to that 9 of 16?
Okay, put that in your calculator.
Could you just put and it gives you
Okay. Okay, so if you put that in your calculator, then you're going to get this. All right, but I want you to do this one. Okay, I want you to do that one. I'm going to do the first step for you. So you're going to move this plus 2 over the other side. So we're going to do 5x squared. Yeah, you can divide all by 5 first. It doesn't matter. Okay, and then the next step is to divide by 5. So x squared minus 9 over 5 is equal to minus 2 over 5. Okay, so you're going to leave it there and then see what else you can do. And then you are ready to do exercise 4.5. Can you please write that down? So you're going to be ready to do exercise 4.5 and then 4.6. But from 4.6, I want you to do only question 3. Okay, pay attention. From 4.6, I want you to do only question 3. From 4.5, just do a few of them. I just do every second one. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But from 4.6, I want you to do all of them.
You said just question 3.
So yeah, but from question 3, I want you to do all of them.
What is question 3? It's just like a completing the squares.
Yeah, completing the square.
Is that it?
Wait, what do we have to do?
Done?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have an answer. Can you please tell me what to do?
So you end up with bracket x minus 9 over 10. Close bracket squared equals negative 2 over 5 plus 81 over 100. And then you can simplify that, so you got the x minus 9 over 10 squared still. But you can simplify that to 41 over 100.
41 over 100?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you square both sides, you'll have x minus 9 over 10 equals the square root of 41 over 10.
Don't forget the plus or minus.
Plus or minus. Square root of 41 over 10. And then x equals 9 plus or minus square root of 41 over 10.
Okay, so that is the answer for that question. Okay, so if you got the same answer, then you should be
Is that enough steps?
very
Or did
happy.
I
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Do you get that? Okay, can you please double check this? Okay, so can you please double check and see if this is equal to 41 over 100?
Because you just multiply negative 2 over 5 by 20, which will give you negative 40 over 100, and then you minus.
There you-
You amplify it. Yeah. Oh, by
Did you-
20.
Or just put it in your calculator. And just put it in your calculator, so you negative 2 ABC 5 plus 81 ABC 100.
So where does the 10 come from? 9 over 10.
Oh, I need times it by 2.
Because you divide this by 2.
But do you have to times the top as well by 2 or just by
Where?
it just times the whole thing by 2, which only ends up being 9 cents. Don't worry about that. Okay.
No, you're dividing by 2, which is multiplying. It's like times it by half.
That's where I stopped off.
Yeah.
You multiply the bottom part by
Yeah, I
subtracting by 2.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Okay. So okay, we're gonna stop here, and we're gonna continue with this. Okay. This week we must finish this equation business.
Don't worry, Chelsea, me too. I just forgot to do I did that last year too.
Okay, Chelsea.
I get it.
Got it?
Yep.
All right.
I only have one step left.
Yeah. All right. So you can stop the video.